Welcome back everyone to our another session in the series by NLTI, where we are familiarizing you with the basic concepts of this exam and helping you navigate these concepts through ease. Today's session is going to be about a sample essay that I'm going to discuss with you. Many students look out for what should be an ideal essay and what should a sample essay in this exam looks like. So you'll of course be able to see one of the sample essays, and we'll also discuss why this essay has been written in a specific way and how you as a student should also try to write your essay in, if not in the exact same way, but then perhaps in a similar way. Before watching this video, I would highly recommend that you also watch the video before this, which was about how to go about writing an analytical essay. So this video is an extension of our previous one, wherein we had discussed with you how to go about writing an analytical essay. So I would recommend, it's a short video, to go through it first before you watch this one, because NLSAT specifically asks you to write analytical essays, and those are slightly different from your typical descriptive essays, in which you're only describing things and you're only stating facts for the most part. But in analytical essays, we are looking at things like how to actually explain something and to go about explaining it in great depth and detail. So please do watch that previous video, only then you'll be able to understand what we are doing here in this one. So this topic has appeared in the most recent iteration of this exam in 2025, and the topic was, should social media be banned for minors? I think this was roughly how the essay topic was framed. So we have written a sample essay on this, and we are going to discuss with you how do you go about writing your essay topic, what its introduction, your heading, the body of your essay, and various components of essay need to look like, and how the content of your essay should also be structured. Okay, so the first step in writing your essay is to have an introduction / problem statement. So as I had discussed in the previous session with you, the first part of writing an analytical essay is to have a thesis statement. The thesis statement basically means putting forth your own claim or your argument. Whoever is reading your essay should know what your stance or position is. Analytical essay by nature expects you to have that stance or position. You cannot just simply describe the whole thing. So a descriptive essay on this topic will look like somebody writing benefits of banning social media for minors, benefits of banning social media for minors, and then disadvantages. So that advantages comparison with disadvantages, and then in the end you write a solution or way forward, and then you conclude it. That is not what you're expected to do. Instead, you're actually expected to take a stance, whether you believe that it should be banned for minors, or you believe it should not be banned for minors, or you believe that it should be banned but subject to some kind of regulation, or you believe that it should not have a blanket ban. So there are many positions you can take. So there are like more than n number of positions that one can take on this essay topic, but whichever you feel is most suited to your own reasoning or to your own skill set or to your own, I guess, biases, you can take that position. That's not something which is too important. What is more important is to have that position, is to have a certain argument when you're trying to write your essay. So that's the first, a preliminary but most important step in writing an analytical essay. If you do not have a claim, if you do not have a statement of your argument, then your essay will anyway not fetch the maximum number of possible marks. So in this case, I have started the essay by writing that the growing demand for banning social media access for those under 18 represents more than child protection. It is a signal, or it signals a fundamental crisis in how society navigates technological disruption. While the impulse to shield young minds from documented harms appears rational, this approach reveals our collective inability to address the root causes of digital dysfunction and risks creating new forms of exclusion in an increasingly connected world. So basically from this point onwards, here till here, I have stated my position. So my position here is, as is visible through this, is that this approach reveals, so while I'm trying to explain why there could be potential good reasons to ban social media for children below 18 years of age, however, this approach reveals our collective inability to address root causes of digital dysfunction and risks creating new forms of exclusion in an increasingly connected world, or actually I think it should say an increasingly disconnected world, whatever you want to write. So my claim here is that by banning social media, we are not addressing the actual problem that exists. The actual problem is far more deeper, and it's one which affects everyone and not just children. But that's something which I want to prove in my essay. So that is basically my position. So in my introduction, I am quickly told what is the problem right now, why there could be some reasons to ban social media. So I'll quickly tell in a line or two that there could be some growing reasons to ban social media, because of course we want to protect children against a lot of online content which is available, which may not be suitable for children who are very impressionable. So that's why there could be some reasons. So quickly just write a few reasons as to why maybe some people want to ban social media, and then state your position. So from here till here I have stated my position. So that's the first part of your essay, where you are describing the problem a little bit and then you put forth your own statement of argument that you're going to argue for. Then we provide a little bit of context. That certainly helps your essay, because the context setting, let's say, can be 20% of your essay, 10 to 20 I would say actually. In this, we are basically helping the assessor understand why this essay topic has to be discussed, or what's the relevance of this essay topic. So in this case, I have written briefly that the case for restriction rests on compelling evidence of psychological harm. Studies show that social media use among adolescents results in depression, anxiety, self-harm. Algorithmic design of these platforms, which is engineered to maximize engagement through dopamine-driven feedback loops, exploits still developing teenage brains' vulnerability to addiction. So till here, you can observe that even though my argument is actually that the social media ban is one which should not be enforced for minors, but I have written all these reasons in support of why social media can actually affect the teenagers. I'm trying to set context here. I'm trying to put forth some arguments from the other side. So that shows that there is a diversity of viewpoints in my essay. Your essay should not be limited to your own position. So when I say that your essay should be argumentative and you should put forth your position, it should not be limited to that alone, and you must consider other viewpoints. And in this case, I have considered those viewpoints as to what could be the reasons for banning or even contemplating a ban for social media users who are below the age of 18 years. So that's why this providing context is important, because in that you're considering a diversity of viewpoints and you're trying to rationalize what could be possible reasons for these viewpoints. However, I am highlighting this because from here on I'll segue into my own arguments now. I have considered those viewpoints, I have considered what the other side's potential rationale for banning social media for children is, but then I'll quickly segue back to what my own claim is. So however, focusing solely on age-based prohibition misses a crucial insight. These same manipulative mechanisms affect adults, suggesting the problem lies not in youthful susceptibility but in the platform's predatory architecture itself. So then again, I'll come back to my argument. So over here, I have considered different viewpoints, but then I'll revert to what my arguments or what my own statement of claim is. And in this case, my claim is that while these things exist with social media, all the issues relating to mental health issues and how it affects someone's growth, these are not exclusive to children and they affect adults as well, because the reason for these effects is not purely our own age, but it's because how the social media's algorithms are created and how these algorithms affect children, adults, even old people, and everyone alike. So the claim here is basically, if I had to summarize my position, is that age is not the problem. Algorithm of social media is the problem, and therefore if you were to ban social media for children, we will miss the actual reason behind the problem. So that is what my argument is, and that is what I'm going to prove. So now you must have realized that whatever my position is a subset of this essay topic. So I'm not just broadly writing everything there is to write about banning social media for children. I will not start by collating every single information on this topic and then just lumping them all together, but instead I'm only limiting myself to a specific subset of this topic, wherein my claim is that if you ban it, then you miss the problem that actually lies with social media. And it's not the age, it's the way in which the content is disseminated on these platforms. So that's what my argument is, and that's how crisp you need to be. So if I had to, if you were to rephrase my essay, you can probably start the introduction by saying that while the problem of social media with young teenagers is a pertinent one, the real problem lies not with the age, but with the way in which the algorithm disseminates information on these platforms, and that's why banning them for children is not going to yield any productive outcome. So that's how I can rephrase my own problem statement as well. But by now, in these first two paras, I hope we have taken two important takeaways. First, having a problem statement, which is my argument. What is it that I'm trying to put forth and what my claim is? We have already identified that. Second, providing context and considering viewpoints as to why this ban or why this topic is even being discussed and what could be potential reasons for people to propose a ban of social media on minors. So in that sense, we have done two things in these first two paragraphs, which will, I think, constitute about 20 to 30% of your whole essay. So these are the two important things you need to do right away when you start writing your essay topic, and I hope this is visible in this essay topic discussion. The next thing we are going to discuss is explaining your argument through reasons. So from here on, the body of your essay starts. I have put forth my reasons, now I need to start explaining them. And at that step, we start asking ourselves questions like what, how, and why. So why is it? Now I have made a claim. My claim is age is not the reason why social media content is harmful, but it's actually the algorithm which makes it harmful. So then I need to explain my arguments through reasons. So first reason here is that more significantly, proposed bans expose the inadequacy of regulatory frameworks in the digital age rather than demanding tech companies redesign harmful features or implement meaningful transparency measures. Blanket age restrictions allow these corporations to continue operating toxic business models while shifting responsibility to parents and schools. Basically, this argument or this explanation critiques the very idea of ban. It says that instead of putting a blanket ban, one must look at more tailored solutions which are regulating the use of social media, looking at how the toxic content which is present on the social media apps or algorithms can be reduced or can be restricted. So instead of focusing on that, we are only focusing on reducing the access of social media to children, which is not a useful strategy, because what we must focus on instead is how can we reduce this toxic content which is available on social media apps. So this, you can say it's an explanation, or this argument basically says that ban is not the solution. So my first reason is basically that ban is not the solution, and I have explained this argument in these many number of words. The second is the enforcement challenge reveals deeper question about digital rights and surveillance. Effective age verification would require unprecedented data collection about minors. It creates privacy risks which harms policies aimed to prevent. Countries attempting similar restrictions like Australia. Of course, now you can also start using your example. So if you've read about this topic, you can also include your factual knowledge at this step. So your factual knowledge and your whatever facts you know about it should complement your analysis. So do not just put your descriptive information about that topic as one single piece of content in your essay, but complement it with your analysis in the essay. So both should go side by side. Use examples, have struggled with implementation, often creating elaborate workarounds. So this argument basically says that enforcement of a ban is difficult. So again, I can start both of these arguments by also flagging what I'm trying to go to explain in these arguments. So in this case, I can rephrase this whole argument by saying that, by starting by this line saying that ban is not a good solution, and then I start my argument. By doing this, you will give some sort of idea to the assessor as to what they can expect from this specific argument that you're making. So you can follow that structure as well, where you first state what you're going to prove and then the explanation follows. So in this case, I'm saying that ban is not the solution, and then I'm showing why it is not. Similarly over here, what I'm trying to prove is that the enforcement of a ban is very difficult, because again, how can you really verify that someone's age is the correct age? If you have ever logged into Instagram or Facebook, you'll all remember that it really doesn't ask you for any identity proof. You can lie, your way. Even if you're 15-year-old, you can show yourself to be 20-year-old. So nobody really cares on these apps. And if they were to enforce some way to actually verify your age, then that will involve some privacy risks. They might ask you for your passport or Aadhaar card or something to verify your age. But then are people comfortable in sharing their personal identity documents? Then that also creates a risks. So this argument engages with actual practical enforcement problems that would come if we were to enforce this ban. Again, other argument is the more troubling is how this debate obscures more fundamental issues. The mental health crisis among young people predates social media and reflects broader societal pressures. So this argument says that while you have some concerns about people struggling with mental health and social media, we might have missed the point. Maybe social media is not the sole reason behind their mental health issues. So this argument then makes the other claim about that there are other reasons why people are struggling. And lastly, there is this argument about how in some cases for marginalized people who are from communities which do not get a lot of social support and visibility, for them social media, and especially for young people of those communities, social media provides them helpful networks, more number of people who they can actually speak to and relate with. So there are some benefits as well. So you can say that for young people, social media makes some benefits. So that way, as you can see, I took a position and my position was stated over here. And then to explain my position, I considered a set of reasons. The reasons such as like why ban is not a solution, why enforcement is difficult, why that there are more reasons than just social media as to why people are struggling, and then why social media actually in some ways is helpful. So once you've stated your position, then you can back it up with a number of different sub-arguments. Once we have done that, then we look at quickly towards what way forward looks like. Again, this part is not mandatory, keep in mind. The above things I've discussed with you are mandatory, but this is not mandatory. It's fine if you have a way forward. If you have some ideas, you can discuss them. So for instance, in this case, instead of I have stated that the path forward requires abandoning simplistic solutions in favor of more structural reforms. This means that we should regulate attention harvesting techniques and invest in digital literacy education that empowers young people to navigate online spaces critically. So we should equip young people to actually understand how social media works and not to get caught up with how companies manipulate them. So that can be one way of explaining how the path forward should look like. If you have time, you can put this section. It's ideally expected of you, but it's again not a mandatory section that I would recommend you to write absolutely in all essays. And then you can quickly conclude your essay. So this is what your essay looks like. This is a demonstration of what a sample essay looks like. If you want to look at more sample essays, I'll recommend that you go through any editorial piece of any newspaper. All these editorials are basically analytical essays where any author is trying to analyze something. So these are the things you're expected to do in an analytical essay, and that's what a sample essay looks like. I hope this session was helpful to give you an idea of how you should also structure your own essay topic and what a format or a template of an essay looks like. Thank you all for watching and stay tuned for our other content.